I gotta say, this picture's pretty poignant. Captain America is just an empty shell of what he used to be. Hey everybody, it's your boy Nerdicane. I know I don't normally do reaction videos, but I saw this trailer for Disney Plus's 616. Marvel 616 comes out November 20th. If you are still subscribed to, well, actually, yeah, I think Disney Plus is going to see a big boost in subscriptions and resubscriptions because The Mandalorian is coming out on October 30th. But yeah, I don't normally do reactions to trailers, so this really isn't a reaction to the trailer. This is me talking about some of the stills of this. This is like a mini series. They say 6 stories from Marvel Comics about, it's Marvel 616. The problem is nobody in this, very few people in this trailer were actually successful or actually had an impact on Marvel Comics. They completely skipped everybody from the 90s. Liefeld, McFarlane, Silvestri. There's another video series that I'm doing right now. It's basically exploring the early days of the comics that were coming out from Image Comics. All of those guys were responsible for Marvel Comics becoming what it was. That giant boom in popularity. That jumping completely front and center into the zeitgeist. We're talking about Lee, Silvestri, even Eric Larson to a degree. But all of them jumped over to Image Comics. But I guarantee none of these people are going to be talked to. I'm sure they'll go find Gabby Rivera. She's not doing anything, and she'll talk to anybody for a paycheck. Mags got nothing going on. I'm sure Mags is going to be in this. It's going to be a disaster. I could tell this whole trailer was going to be a shit show when this was the first face who came up. This is CB Cebulski. He's the guy who gets Sana Amanat coffee and has to clear all of his decisions through her because she's the de facto editor-in-chief since he doesn't really do anything at Marvel. I don't know. He puts his name on books. He picks up a paycheck. You're an old schooler. We had such big hopes for you when you got hired on as proxy EIC at Marvel, and you just, what a mess. What a mess you are. Just save us all the trouble and just retire right now, okay? One of the episodes that's probably going to be pretty cool is they talk about cosplay. The problem is, if this is a cosplay episode where you're not talking to Riddle and you're not talking to Yaya Han, you've completely lost the foundations of cosplay as an industry, because those two people were the originators of. They didn't create cosplay, but they're the two who sort of industrialized it, especially Yaya Han. So if she's not being interviewed and she's not being talked to, and I don't know, I don't recognize which cosplayer this is because I don't pay attention to that stuff. If I don't know who this is, but if they're not talking to definitely at least both of those people about the cosplay scene and what it means in Marvel and with the Marvel lore, they've really just missed the ball on this one. The trailer goes into the part about art. It's very funny that they show McFarlane art. This is the art that they bring because his philosophy of why can't it be cool is what made Marvel so big in the 90s. That's kind of the spark that everything started changing. You started seeing this visual redirectioning of Marvel Comics, and things were cool. Now, if they're going to go talk to some of their current Tumblr level trash artists, once again, you're completely missing the point. You're talking to the problem. You're not talking to the people who created the standard. And once again, I hate to go back to the image books that I did, especially this one I just did, Cyberforce by Mark Silvestri. I looked at the art. The art came out, almost 30 years ago? The art is better than the Marvel Comics art today, and that was an indie book from like 25 years ago. So, it's just, oh man. I said it earlier in this video, if that episode where they're talking about the art, because this is a visual medium, that's the thing that draws you in, that's the first thing that draws you in. If they're not talking to McFarlane, if they're not talking to Jim Lee, if they're not talking to Mark Silvestri, if they're not talking to any of the really great artists from that era, once again, they're just They're not trying to draw anybody in if they're going to show some of the Tumblr art that they've had recently. There's Harley Quinn making a cameo in this Marvel production. I mean, whoever missed that could probably be an editor for Marvel Comics. Here's a very unfunny Hollywood guy. Anytime you see him, it's almost guaranteed you're not going to laugh. Speaking of situations where you don't laugh, here's Sana Amanat. This is part of the root of the problem. She came on about 6 or 7 years ago at Marvel. Nobody's really sure what her title is. Her title was never really a title at Marvel until she got there. She is the the editor or the director of creative content. Nobody can really name that position before she was there. She's the one pushing Miss Marvel to the forefront. She's the one pushing Captain Marvel to the forefront. Meanwhile, those characters in the past 5 years have never really had that defining storyline. That storyline that really grabbed and really made the connection with the fans. Miles Morales, it took a little while for Miles Morales to do that. He's one of these new sort of replacement heroes, but he finally had it. Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel, over the past 5 years just haven't had that. She's also the genius architect who said that Marvel has a boy problem. It was never a problem before when they were making money that, yes, comic books are primarily, traditionally, I'd say about 90% of your audience are boys. Women, girls gravitate to it as well, but not in the rate that boys do. It's a power fantasy. That's how it's always been. That doesn't mean exclude. That doesn't mean it's a boys' club, keep the girls out. No, it means make sure you're serving that rock solid audience that's been going. And if you want to go after a different audience, do it, but do it subtly. Don't push it on everybody. Don't push it to the forefront. She's the one who's been leading the charge to chase this phantom SJW millennial Twitterazzi audience who do not buy comic books. They're tech savvy. They'll go download it. They'll go get it from a torrent site if they want to read it. But they only do that once generally because your writers are such garbage. They read one storyline and they go, nah. Here's Dan Slott looking like reverse Santa Claus, bragging about his storyline where he killed Spider-Man. He's so proud of that. And that's the problem with Marvel, and that's the problem with Dan Slott. They're so excited. He's so excited that he pissed off the fan, that he's acting like some sort of wrestling heel of the comics industry when there's been a backlash, Dan. You go to every other book, you go to Fantastic Four, you go to Iron Man, and you can't sell it because you pissed off the fans. You gleefully pissed off the fans, and now, because you're one of the exclusive writers at Marvel, now Marvel gets to suffer. Now the fans get to suffer because nobody wants to read your work anymore because you're well past your prime. Here is Marvel stories written for high school plays? I'm interested to see who wrote those, and I would definitely be interested to read that script, but from the trailer, apparently this high school play features Squirrel Girl heavily, so that's going to be trash, okay? The trailer also features a little Japanese Spider-Man. Japanese Spider-Man, for those of you who don't know, that part of the documentary is going to be pretty cool because Japanese Spider-Man is super weird. Ethan Ainsworth, you should be looking forward to this because that's going to be a very fun part. It's very, very, very different. Oh, then they showed some Funko Pops. If you watch one of my very, very early videos, you know my thoughts on Funko Pops. Marvel Comics is basically the advertising department for Funko Pops from Marvel. I found it really funny as they talk about, somebody was saying in this trailer that this is the golden age of toys. That's bullshit. You are very, very wrong because you must have missed the early days of the 2000s when McFarlane toys were coming out, when there was a magazine called Toy Fair that came out every month, which sort of created Robot Chicken, a lot of the guys who did the Twisted Mego Theater, but that's a whole other crazy story. That Powers of the Force, the Star Wars toys at the time, That was the golden age of toys. The early days of McFarlane toys. This, you can't sell a toy right now. You can't. Kids aren't buying toys. They're doing everything digital. They want to play, Fortnite and get skins and things like that. That's what kids do now. They're not playing with action figures. So don't tell me this is the golden age of toys, because it ain't. Am I going to watch it? Yes, I'm going to watch it. There's going to be, I guarantee there's going to be parts that just completely infuriate me. There's going to be parts that make me nope out. There's going to be some super cringe stuff from that comedic actor. Anything with him, anything I've ever seen with him is going to be super, super cringe. And a lot of the guys, I guarantee DNC is going to do this. Your boy Zach is going to do this. I can't wait, and I really, really hope that Just Some Guy does it, because that video is going to be fire. So that's it. Yeah, I'll end on this. Hey, Dan Slott, if you stacked up every one of your books over the past 5 years from a major character that didn't sell over 50,000, how wide would that stack be? Wow, that's pretty wide.